Hey everyone, just wanted to say that my mic wasn't plugged in properly when we recorded this review, so please enjoy it regardless of the mic quality. Thanks. Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
And this is like the worst thing to happen to us in our programming.
Since 9/11.
Godzilla X Kong came out, and this is its opening weekend. I saw it last night. You guys just saw it.
I want to say for the record that you saw it Thursday night, the premiering night, and
I
me and
did.
Daniel saw it Friday, the normal night.
Yes, I did. I did. I had to see it. I was curious. And let's just get into it. I thought this is one of the worst Godzilla movies ever. I hated nearly every minute of it. I don't understand why people like it. And this is coming from one. I don't want to hype myself up, but definitely one of the biggest Godzilla fans out there, I think.
I
And
concur.
He is, yeah, he is.
I
I
hated this
concur.
thing entirely. This makes Godzilla Kong look tame. What did you guys think? You guys just saw it. What is your out of the theater experience? What did you think?
So, obviously, I had very low expectations. I was not expecting this to be good, and it didn't really shock me. I mean, it's not good. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's as advertised, I guess.
Hmm.
I agree with you that it probably is one of the worst Godzilla movies ever.
Yes.
At points, I felt like I was watching a video game.
Well, that's given with the CGI sequences. I think first things
Well,
first. Oh, you
yeah.
continue what you want to say, then I'll go
Well, I
into
was gonna say is
diatribe.
like with the video game thing because I didn't feel like I was watching a video game from Godzilla 2014 or King of the Monsters. This and Godzilla vs Kong felt like a video game, but we'll get more into that.
I thought the most shocking thing of the entire movie. Well, there's two things that really shocked me. The first thing are the fight scenes, in that they're very short, and there's not a whole lot in there. So to all the idiots online who are saying like, "Oh my God, it's action packed," it's really not. And I think that especially the finale is very underwhelming. And the most shocking thing to me was Scar King. He's barely in the movie. They try to hype him up, like with all the advertising. And when he appears, do you want to take a guess when he first appears in the movie?
Well, you
Is
already
it
told
what?
us.
Okay, he appears
It wasn't.
64 minutes in out of a 115-minute movie, 106 without credits.
So how
64 minutes in, he's first shown.
so how'd you time that? Did you
I
set a
I
timer?
I I, I just know. Let's just say that I just know. And Shimu appears 68 minutes in out of 115. Your two big baddies of the entire movie you introduce an hour in. What kind of idiot decided to do that? That is the stupidest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah,
And
because
yeah,
people
you
might
go.
say, "Oh, in the previous one, Mechagodzilla didn't appear until the end of the movie." Yes,
He wasn't the
the
focus.
but the humans controlling him did appear early on.
Yeah.
So it's for people thinking that they can get one over on us, we got you covered.
Yeah. And also, the Scar King, aside from that terrible exposition dump delivered by Rebecca Hall, where she was explaining everything like, oh, he's really bad. You better watch out for him. He gets beaten up the entire movie. He is probably the worst monster villain out there. He gets
I
beaten up in every fight, and then he dies.
yeah yeah I think Shino enough as a threat could have been the main villain, and you have them have to team up against.
They don't team up. They team up
No,
for
but
2 minutes at the end.
both, I would say both Titans, both villains weren't big threats. I mean, Shima was a big threat for Kong. Godzilla was taking on Shima the whole time. Like, it wasn't a challenge for him. He was able to match him pretty well.
And the thing that was so monumentally stupid in the movie too was they're like, okay, well, Godzilla's side story is he knows there's an imminent threat coming, so he's powering up. He did not have to power up at all to fight these two goons. They were literally Saturday morning cartoon villains. You
But see, if
see,
Godzilla wanted to power up for Shimu, I mean, wouldn't have Ghidorah been a better choice to power up for? I mean,
well,
Ghidorah actually
literally
almost took
that
over the
that dumb
world.
excuse is just so they can change Godzilla's design.
Well, I know that's the real reason, so they can sell more toys because, as people who aren't aware, a lot of these movies are designed to sell toys. That's why they keep giving them different looks. Like in the Marvel movies, why every character looks different every movie is to sell toys.
And also X-Men too. Remember when they at the end of each X-Men movie, at least I think it was Apocalypse, they teased like really comic accurate costumes, and then in Dark Phoenix, those costumes are nowhere to be seen.
Oh, yeah, that could have been maybe for aesthetic purposes, but like for like I know the Marvel movies, it's to sell toys, this to sell toys. That's why Kong has that stupid glove, because you don't want to, because kids aren't going to rebuy the same Kong with the axe toy. They want to buy the new one, Kong with the glove toy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a victim of that. But I thought the King of the Monsters
You're a
design
collector.
was probably one of the best Godzilla designs. I know a lot of people didn't like the dorsal plates being from the 54 one, but it fit because they changed the proportions of everything. They made his tail like not as skinny as the 2014 one. They made his face a little bigger, his claws bigger, his feet were a little different. But like Godzilla changing, you wouldn't really any casual wouldn't notice that he looked different from 2014 and 2019. His
I,
new design is just horrible.
He's glowing a lot more too.
I don't know what Adam Wingard's obsession is with making Godzilla glow. He's literally never done that.
I
And
don't
he
know what his
only
obsession
glue,
is with neon is.
yeah, he only glown in King of the Monsters when he was supercharged up whenever he used his dorsal plates for his atomic breath. That was it. Now his whole body's glowing, and it's so stupid. It's so annoying. It's
Yeah.
tacky. I hate it.
That's how you really feel.
I hate
Well,
this movie.
no, I felt like not only with just the fight scenes too, but every scene was just like it was just so choppy. Like in the beginning of this movie, it's like this happens and this happens. It's just like he's. It almost is like Adam Wingard is just rushing to get like I don't know why he's like rushing through these movies. Like it's not even like quick pacing. It's just like it's just this idea, this idea, this idea, this idea, this idea, fight scene, this idea, this. It's like nothing. It doesn't flow. It's
No,
just
no.
it's convoluted. Like and um especially the fight. I mean, if you want to talk about the fight scenes, like I don't know why Adam Wingard has turned. Craig, I know you said this before. He's essentially turned Godzilla into the Hulk.
From the
Like,
Marvel movies.
yeah, I don't know why. Like, he's made Godzilla this like killing machine. Like, where he just brutally eats murders these other titans. Like, it's
But,
just like
but the
I
reason
get it.
why
Like,
I
yeah,
Because the
like
reason why I thought about this was, like in the Marvel movies, Hulk is not a character. It's Bruce Banner, and then he turns into the Hulk to do the fight scenes, and he goes right back to Bruce Banner. There's no like Godzilla scenes. Just Godzilla's got to power up to, you know, power up to fight the monster, then go back into the water. Now he's living on land for some reason to power up every time.
yeah, like him sleeping in the Coliseum. Why is that his spot?
Well, his
I
home was
saw
nuked.
this. Well, not just that, because Adam Wingard has a cat. That Rasputin-looking man has a cat, and for some reason he saw his cat sleeping in a cat bed, thinking, well, we should put Godzilla in like a
Oh my
circular
God, he's
container.
such a loser. So I don't know if you guys saw this
I'm
one
quoting
article.
him.
No, I know. There's this one article. He's like, "Yeah, Godzilla minus one inspired this one scene," and I think that might be the quote for quote of the headline. The only reference to Godzilla minus one he did was when Godzilla steps out of the Coliseum, the ground shifts up because of how heavy he is. That was it. That's all his little reference was, and that's such a weird homage to it because Godzilla minus one didn't do it to look cool. They did it to convey how heavy he is.
Big he
And the
is.
fact that these monsters are running around, and by the way, the fight with Methuselah, right? No, Skyla. That
Scylla?
was so bad. When Godzilla just jumps up and body checks Skyla, and then he jumps on top of Skyla. It looks terrible. Like Godzilla looks like a lizard dude, like a 6 foot guy running around doing this.
I wanted you to like. I wish we could get somebody who's only seen the 2014 one and show them clips of this, saying, "Oh, this is a sequel." They'd probably be
Well,
very jarring.
I think the worst thing with this is not only that, Godzilla can move like a pro athlete, is that is the defense for it. Like, obviously, this movie isn't getting great reviews, but the people that are defending it, like, it's like, oh, they're really digging into the Showa era. I was like,
Oh, I hate
and
that. I hate seeing that
well,
comment.
well, we'll see. Well, here's the thing with the Showa era, like the best, and this isn't like I would say it's objectively the best Showa era movies were the more serious Godzilla ones. Really, the ones the first five, right up to Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, and then you got Mechagodzilla at the tail end of it. But the middle part that Adam Wingard is pulling from, those like the worst ones, you could arguably say the worst stretch of movies in the entire franchise. Like if that's like those ones almost derailed the franchise.
Yeah, I hate seeing that comment like, oh, I love the Showa energy. And the big difference is, and I don't know if these other people are pretending to not know it or they just refuse to acknowledge it.
They're not Godzilla fans. Let's be
Oh
honest.
yeah,
They've
well
probably never seen
they
it.
probably hear Showa and they're like, oh, that sounds cool.
I don't know
But
what Showa means.
the difference is that the Showa era was 60 years ago, or at least like the movies from the 60s were 60 years ago, and they had very limited budget. Though honestly, the budget for those movies are probably under $1 million for its time, which is insanely cheap. Like for example, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah was shot in a month. The entire movie was shot in a month. Godzilla vs. Megalon was shot in 3 months. So these movies, that the Showa energy movies, were rushed. They were cheesy and they catered to kids. And like Daniel said, it almost killed the franchise. They went on a 9 year dormant because of those movies.
Hiatus.
Yeah, hiatus, whatever.
Yeah, and
And
it's
they
just
weren't
like
making money too. That's the thing. At the end, they weren't making money.
yeah,
Terra Mechagodzilla was the lowest selling Godzilla movie of all time.
yeah. Like the so like when people say like, oh, it's Godzilla, like it doesn't have to be serious. I'm like, the best Godzilla movies, it's not even just like preference. The best Godzilla movies in if you look at in the franchise as a whole, best ones tended to be more serious and grounded in something. The campy ones were usually an indicator, like in the show one, like it was going downhill. It's just, and again, they're limited by their time, the budget, technology. So yeah, it's gonna tend to look goofier when you try to do something, but they're also just limited. It's not a fair comparison,
They are
and it's
products
not.
of their times. It's a guy in a suit. This one, it's hyper realistic CGI models destroying things. If anything, it's more like Man of Steel, where it's just disturbing, where there's like this excess of violence. It
They're
looks
just,
cheesy in the '60s because they're blowing up little sets and models, and you can tell it's
yeah.
charming. This isn't charming. This is just eye roll. I hate it. It's so stupid and
This almost looked like an HD Godzilla Destroy All Monsters melee.
yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah,
No, because the way they were moving.
yeah.
Even they moved
Like
a little slower in that game, Craig. Give that game credit.
No. Well, I'm saying like it looks like a video game. Like, once a fighting game, so you can suspension disbelief. You have to characters move fast to fight. In a movie with a giant monsters, they're supposed to be slow. That's kind of I think there's like an intrinsic aesthetically
Yeah.
cool thing when big things are slow. Makes it look
I
more
just
realistic.
you know, again, Godzilla's sidelined in this, but again, I just don't know why like Adam Wingard has this obsession of making Godzilla just like this bully, like for no reason. Like it was, at this point, Craig made the comment before, um, after we saw the movie, essentially like King of the Monsters isn't canon anymore. Like
Yeah, they're really
they've completely
phasing that
disregarded
one
that.
out.
But the thing is, like King of the Monsters established him as like he's an alpha. He's 2014. He's a force of nature. He keeps balance in the ecosystem in the world. So it was more established. Like, yeah, he'll come out and fight. Like the Mutos were different because they were parasites and whatever. But like the other ones, like it seems like he'd be more of like if there was an issue with a certain Titan, he would beat them down, make them submit, and essentially back off. Like know your place in this world. This is just like he's brutally murdering them. Godzilla vs Kong had that weird, like round robin like thing in the title scenes of Godzilla just eliminating all these monsters for like no reason.
It was like a tournament bracket.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, and they just had Kong with the Skullcrawler, and then Godzilla's like, Behemoth, all these other ones. But it's just like I don't know why Adam Wingard just makes Godzilla a bully. Like at this point, then do a Godzilla -1 style film at that point. Make him
No,
just
they
like it.
can't. They can't.
No, I'm saying, but if he wants to make Godzilla a jerk, then truly make it a Godzilla film. Make him the villain against the humans. Like, don't sideline him. Say you're a Godzilla fan, sideline him, and then when he is down, he's just destroying like all the other Titans without mercy.
I think so. There's two things that are on my mind right now. The one thing are the people defending this movie, and the thing that bothers me the most is that these smooth brain kind of people, they just say, "Oh, I'm here for the monster fights. I don't care about anything else. I just want monsters." And those are the same people who will probably trash on Transformers, but where's that excuse for Transformers?
Ace Transformers was cool, man. Optimus Prime was awesome.
It's like I don't get that kind of criticism where it's a cheap excuse to just wait away any kind of criticism for something. Like, oh, it's silly. I don't care. Who cares? I like
But see,
seeing giant weightless monsters run around and there's no sense of scale anywhere. I like
but see,
seeing that.
I think there's also differences too, where there's been several. This is not like the first installment. This is the fifth installment in the MonsterVerse when it comes to movies, right? So these past movies have been very, I guess, lore breaking or universe breaking, where it's basically two different almost universes. You got the first three, then you got these next two, where again, there must be different. They're pulling from different stuff. They act like different movies. So I think that's part of the problem with this. Why we're probably reacting so negatively, because it feels like we're watching, things we like, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, go down in flames. With Transformers, people want to say, oh, because I think I was positive on Transformers, even though it's bad. It's at least entertaining. It may not be highbrow stuff, but it's entertaining. This I don't feel like is
No, Sentinel.
because I think that this really isn't entertaining. I mean, even for you could say, oh, we've got like a biased perspective, sure, but it's not getting great reviews from anybody. I can't really imagine this is going to do all that well financially. People don't seem to be interested into or like it.
Yeah, this really should have just been called, Planet of the Kongs, like because like at one point, like in the middle of the movie, like you feel like you're watching just giant Planet of the Apes, essentially.
Well, you can't even say giant because there's no sense of scale. We don't know
Yeah.
how big these things are. They're
I have
moving just
I
like
have
big.
two things. One is I'm completely done with the Hollow Earth. It is they try to make it so vast, but it's really kind of lame and like boring. They can
Well,
make up
Craig,
whatever they want. There are
Yeah.
no rules. They make up
Craig
whatever
heard
they
me.
want.
I literally call him during the movie when Kong went down to that next level, the subterranean
Oh
realm.
yeah.
I started laughing. Craig heard me. I literally said, "What?" And
Yeah,
I was like,
Hollow Earth's all the way down.
"Yeah."
They
And I
are
said to Craig, I
making
was like,
things up as they go. They have no plan. And again, this just like completely disregards Kong Skull Island and even King of the Monsters with
I
what
just
the
think it's
Hollow Earth
stupid.
is.
I just think it's stupid. Like you go deeper and you find like another uncharted section of Hollow Earth. It's like that's it. I mean, there's nothing.
we're essentially getting like almost like a multiverse.
Oh God, don't
there's
give me
no end to
ideas.
it. No, he's
No,
already going there.
It's Hollow Earth's all the way down.
I think
You
another
know,
thing that also
You ever heard
bothered
that
me
expression?
was with the people defending this movie. What makes the people defending this movie like with its critical reception? How come people didn't have that same mindset for King of the Monsters? Everyone trashed on that movie. With this one, people are more lenient. I don't understand that, especially if they're using the same dumb like criticism free, like oh giant monsters, I don't care.
Yeah, but that movie had much better action. King of the Monsters, much better. Not just action, but fight scenes. It
It had better pacing, and I guess we can jump into the human characters. But I think the most annoying thing with these movies is that I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, I want to see them for Godzilla. I want to see them for Kong." But you can't have these movies without the human characters. It is impossible. Otherwise, you'd get a 30-minute VFX reel. That's all these smooth brain people want. They just want highlights. They don't want a movie. You need the human characters to contextualize the action, what the monsters are doing, They've been doing it since 1954. Nothing has changed. You have to have good characters. And surprisingly, this movie doesn't. Not surprisingly. King of the Monsters at least tried. This movie didn't try at all, and that I think that's worse.
Well, especially like the cast of characters we have. I mean, we've got the Kong expert from the last movie. She's whatever. We have the deaf girl who's apparently the savior of the Iwi race.
Oh
We've
God.
got the podcast guy again because for some reason they have the most well-funded government organization on the planet. They have all the top scientists and researchers working, but the one conspiracy theory guy is the one guy they have to go to. Come on,
Yeah.
like we're
So
cringing.
too,
We
I
got
just it was like
Trapper.
stupid. Well, it was also stupid with the conspiracy theory guy, like the podcast guy. He's like, people don't believe me. It's like you saw like the scene before, like she's going on talk shows talking about Kong like he's a pet, like an animal at the zoo. Like, oh, he's doing well. Like, this is like public knowledge now. Like, I don't know if he's like what wouldn't be believed. Like, there's no conspiracy anymore.
Well, that was the same thing for
Godzilla,
the last movie. Like, what is he talking about? Like conspiracy theory? Like people know these things exist. I mean, I
it's
haven't
just
rewatched that one, but
yeah. But yeah,
I don't know what he would be.
she has to go to him to figure out like seismic pulses. Isn't
Yeah,
that
she
what
can't go to her.
isn't that what like geologists are for?
I mean, any sort of whatever you think scientific field it goes
Or
to,
so,
it is not Bernie.
Yeah, it's not some essentially a loser who is in his dinky apartment on a podcast. You don't go to
I'm
that guy.
surprised he wasn't still hanging around those
You
kids.
go to that guy with handcuffs.
I think our podcast might be more successful than his.
Oh
I'm just gonna
man,
say it.
that's such a low bar.
I just yeah, like I
I mean, he's
it's,
talking about his like Reddit trolls, and he's talking about like
Uh,
the Discord people. Like this is just so pathetic.
yeah, I think also I've seen now I don't know if this is a hot take. I did not like Trapper at all. I think they were trying
I don't
too
like him
hard.
either.
They're trying too hard to make him like, oh, he's so cool, he's so lax. I just
oh
found
my
him kind of
god,
annoying. Like when he first showed up. By the way, this guy is a Titan dentist. Like who is writing this? He's coming on that song. He's like, I got you. I
oh
was like,
my.
oh my lord, this is horrible.
That's how you
I
show his
was, I
personality.
was gonna bring that up as like the weirdly input of like such out of place music, like these random like songs that they would put in like when they're going into the Hollow Earth, like they're playing like this like 80s rock song,
It's
and then
like
when
they're
he
trying
shows
to make
up,
it like Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy.
and then when he showed up, like when he's like, "Oh, I got a crazy idea," and he comes back with like that armada of those like electric birds, and it's like
Yeah, like in
this
five
rock song.
minutes.
This rock song starts playing. I was like, "What?"
And it's like, what am I
Like,
watching?
yeah. And can Adam Wingard, if he gets a third movie, can he stop with like the 1940s like Sinatra song for an opening with Kong? We get it. Kong wanders around and he showers. Like we don't need to see this for the second this was a second straight movie. We saw Kong meandering around and he showered with a slow song like a classic song playing.
And it doesn't really work in this one because it like the song immediately fades away. Like Godzilla vs Kong is bad, but at least in that one, it introduces that Kong is like living a facade. He's just
Yeah.
wandering around. His life feels pointless because he's in that dome. Fine, whatever. But in this one, it's just like what? Because he's getting run down by these like I don't even know what kind of dogs they are.
Titan hyenas, whatever, Titan
Yeah.
wolves.
And again, to go back on the scale, the first three movies did such a great job of conveying that these are big monsters. It feels like Planet of the Apes when Kong is down there with all the other monsters, because the Hollow Earth has no visual point of reference to show how big these are. Everything is made up, everything is fake, so it just looks like Kong is in, I don't know, some jungle running
Well, the
around.
other thing with Hollow
Not
Earth,
even gravity's established at Hollow Earth.
Yeah, oh my
Like
god.
you can apparently the Eewees can flip gravity by using a chemical reaction. What?
well, the other thing with Hollow Earth is that I think it's a missed opportunity. You don't know which is the top or the bottom for the most part, right? Like if you were to take like a random shot, which maybe this might seem trivial, but I feel like it would help if you can tell which part is like the surface of the upper crust and like what's actually like the bottom, if we're going deeper, right? That's closer to the core of the Earth. Because at some point, like, well, what's the difference? You're just in some jungle with crystals lighting up the place. Ooh, and there's always like this
I,
perfect sunlight source, apparently, even though there's no light down there.
hmm, it's just I think 2014 is owed a very big apology. Same with
Yes.
King of the
I
Monsters.
think we said
But
that when we were reviewing Godzilla vs Kong.
We'll say it again.
20, 2014 just keeps aging so much better with each and every next installment in the MonsterVerse.
Like, it was never that bad. People just overreacted because their favorite Breaking Bad actor died.
Well, also, I mean, the
I mean,
lighting at the
that
end
was
and
that was dumb. Like at least
yeah,
in the movie, but it's not enough to make you hate it.
Well,
yeah.
well,
Well,
people were like, we're overreacting as usual.
well, I
It's
know Godzilla got teased throughout and stuff, so I get that. Those are complaints, but it's not enough to like hate the movie because the scenes that Godzilla was still in, I mean, it was he was the main Titan. It was his movie. At
Eh,
least the scene.
more about the Mutos that movie, but
Yeah, but most people know about Godzilla anyway, so I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think
it
it's.
was a great
Yeah.
introduction to Godzilla.
But at least the scenes that he was in, like there was still like even the Hawaii scene right before he shows up at the airport, like when they shoot up the flares and you see how big he is and he's causing the tidal wave. It's like if you're at least not going to fully show him or there's going to be fights, you can still do things like
You
that.
can
Like
feel his presence
Yeah,
even if
the
you don't
yeah.
really see him.
Golden Gate Bridge, like where he comes up with the dorsal fins, or he's going through the boats. His tail, like they think it's his dorsal fin, but his tail
Yeah,
is
that was
up, and then
cool.
you see his dorsal fins come up, and then like when the kids are like on the bus, with that apparently now that teacher was on, um,
Oh,
the like when he comes up and he's rising up and the music that like slow music plays and the kids are just like looking up at him like those are cool scenes. Like you really like that's when people like the some of the people that defend this movie like oh you're getting upset like
I
or
am
you
getting upset. Yeah,
well, like they're like oh a radioactive monster you're trying to say this is unrealistic like the plot is unrealistic but it's like I get that but you can still ground it in some sort of realism as if he actually was there like how 2014 did like or even King of the Monsters, like where you see the people like running around while he's fighting Ghidorah, and like he steps and you boom, like you don't get that.
I was gonna
Like
no,
say one thing again, like with Scar King, where he's not even hyped up. Like remember in King of the Monsters, how Ghidorah shows up. I wrote it down. 38 minutes into the movie, he shows up, and he has an entrance. He breaks free, and everyone's running and fleeing from him. And
well,
then
also
it
before that
shows how
too.
like evil he is. He just blasts away those soldiers just because, and then he starts like one of the heads starts licking the bodies. You introduce your main monster villain in grand fashion.
But I
Make
wanted to
him a
say too,
threat.
before even Ghidorah gets revealed, everyone's like, Monster Zero.
Oh yeah, everyone's kind of scared of him.
Yeah, because why
yeah.
is he locked away in the Arctic? Like they're unleashing the
and,
biggest baddie first.
and Godzilla picked up speed. It's because it was like, oh crap! Like even he knows, like, oh crap! Like
He's
not,
really rushing down there to stop him.
but he had to swim there. It wasn't like he sprinted or jumped off a cliff. My God,
Oh yeah, that was
like
horrible.
apparently he's
Oh,
an Olympic diver too. But
also wanted to mention, we're talking about the sense of scale. Do you remember in the movie where Godzilla jump off Gibraltar and he basically landed on like the beach, but somehow still went underwater?
Yeah, that was horrible.
It's
That
like
was
this.
worse than Godzilla jumping to the Hudson River in the '98 one, where there's like this tiny splash.
Well, because that was at least in the '90s. They were trying their best at the time.
Yeah.
yeah,
This
I'm
has,
sorry.
decades of
Yeah,
experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just funny. The Hudson River is like 60 feet deep. It's like this giant ocean in the movie.
Yeah, but at least at 60 feet. I mean, this Godzilla, no, like, you shouldn't dive in shallow water. I mean, Godzilla, like, basically, like, just dove into
No, I know
less than
that
60
was
feet.
so bad. I hated that so much.
yeah,
But
but
that's gonna
it
break his
just
neck jumping in that water.
I think also King of the Monsters looks a lot better. Like I think
100%.
maybe people will come around to it because again, at least with the human drama on that one, they at least tried. It wasn't done well, but they tried, and they actually had character arcs. Gee, remember those with Kyle
No.
Chandler's character, Mark Russell? He had a character arc. Even Vera Farmiga's character, everyone who hated
Yeah, the
her,
wife.
Emma Russell, she had an arc. It's mind-boggling that that movie was doing the basic things and everyone hated that. And this one does. They don't even try, and I think that's worse. Not even attempting to do it is worse because then you have these pawns here essentially.
Well, there was a character arc, Colin, the Iwi girl.
Actually, I was gonna say
Yeah.
Bernie realized that he was actually important.
I think actually, no, Craig. I think with Bernie, he realized he can have friends his own age. That's a real character arc.
Yeah.
Not just Discord friends.
Yeah.
Please respond.
Well, I did want to
Discord kitten.
the one thing I did want to discuss too, because
Discord's known for grooming.
Craig and I were confused.
Yeah, that fits.
Did they retcon now that Mothra is from is like so like how did she get down to the Hollow Earth? Because from King of the Monsters, right? Which
I
is
think she was like rematerialized because there was no egg.
How?
I don't know.
because it was established at the end of King of the Monsters that she left an egg. Like
Yes.
I forget where
It was in
Easter
the
Island?
end credits.
Easter Island or something like that or something.
Yeah.
She left an egg somewhere, which
Wait,
typical.
Daniel, real quick, let me just stop you, then you can continue. Michael Dougherty even said that before Mothra joined the final fight, she laid an egg. Continue.
It's canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's a way to pay homage to the old Mothra, right? Where because in most of her, like in some like the Godzilla ones, like she would lay an egg and then go to the final battle just in case she died, So at the end of the King of Monsters, when they're doing all the like essentially like how the world's gotten better now with the Titans being out and everything, and
Which they
the
just
world's healing.
disregarded in the past two movies.
Yeah. So yeah, Mothra laid an egg. So what happened? And then another thing too with Mothra, so they don't explain why they need a Skull Island Iwi to unlock Mothra. They just say, "Oh, we need a Skull Island Iwi to do that." Why?
Well, because the girl will have nothing to do in the movie then.
But the
And I guess
thing
they really
also in
wanted her
King of the
back.
Monsters, Eileen Chen, I think her name was, she was like a Mothra. They hinted that it was like the Mothra twin.
Well,
Yeah,
they didn't hint. I mean, they
Oh yeah,
basically
it's pretty
said it.
obvious. Yeah, and her family had generations of monarch, and even said they were at Birth Island, I think.
A generation of twins too.
Yeah, whatever that island was called. So how she's now associated with the Iwi people makes no sense. I think honestly, if that all felt like a reshoot, it felt like that is something they just cobbled up together last minute. Because Mothra has no place in the movie at all, other than be like, "Hey, Godzilla, stop it."
No.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah,
I'd be
it's
curious
just,
to see if that was actually reshoots, because my feeling is it is reshoots.
yeah,
Maybe they found some extra coins in the couch cushions to pay for Mothra.
Yeah, Mothra served no purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Just to get Godzilla and King Kong to knock it off and say, "Hey, get out."
I just don't know why Godzilla's so aggressive in this movie. Because as soon as you see Kong, he's just like a junkyard dog seeing
Well,
a piece of meat.
these last two movies, he was like that.
Yeah, I just because by
He's almost
Adam
like a
Wingard's
jellyfish.
by Adam Wingard's logic, if he did the ending of Godzilla King of the Monsters when all those monsters show up to Godzilla, he would have killed all of them. He wouldn't have just growled and they all bowed. He would have killed all
And
of
that's the
them.
thing is, it's like he brings in Tiamat for like just to like for no reason, just so Godzilla could kill him.
Yeah, and take his energy to sell more toys to turn purple or pink.
Those pink.
Also, I want to explain my jellyfish comparison. Jellyfish are like just a bundle of nerves. So
Yeah.
Godzilla's just a bunch of nerves reacting to certain stimuli. He sees an animal in front of him, he's going to start freaking out. Because I feel like if I say Godzilla's a jellyfish, people might get confused.
Yeah, I mean,
Godzilla's going out of his way just to wreck Cairo. just like
Destroying all the pyramids.
I liked in the other ones where he was like unintentionally destroying things. It's just how large he was. He didn't. Again, by Adam Wingard's logic, when Godzilla was revived in King of the Monsters, he would have destroyed that submarine. It would have annoyed him. Instead he looks at Mark, and then Mark realizes that Godzilla's the key.
Yeah, like
I hate Adam
yeah,
Wingard
like
in his
when
movies.
he went to the nuclear power plant in France, and like the jets come at him, and he just releases that nuclear pulse. And like in Cairo, like he goes through that little river which inexplicably can hold him, and he just bullies his way through the bridges, and then like crosses through the town, jumps out of Gibraltar, causes a tidal wave, and try would have flooded the city.
Well,
And then
Gibraltar,
and
like
then
that's leads to that's like the entrance to the Mediterranean, but like the way he jumped off the rock onto just like basically on the beach, like
and then tackles Kong, takes Kong through two of the pyramids. Like,
that's the thing too with this.
He destroyed an eighth wonder of the world.
At least with these Adam Wingard movies, he seems to be using atomic breath almost constantly,
Yeah, I think
which
what I really liked about the American Godzilla was that he'd always okay, the first two movies, he'd fight like close, and then last resort, he'd use the atomic breath. That's much cooler because then the Heisei one beam spammed a lot, and so did the other ones.
but there was also like people in suits weren't moving all that much
Yeah,
either, so it was
they couldn't
different.
really do much. Like
yeah, because it kind of
the
looked
suits
like,
were heavy, they had mechanics in
yeah,
them.
it almost looked like a drunk guy like swinging his fist.
Yeah,
Like,
Because I mean, not to make all these comparisons to Godzilla minus one, but when he used that his atomic breath, it was very few and far between because of how destructive it was, and obviously you have to recharge, but
well, and it also makes it cooler and more special when he actually does use it. Like you have these build-ups to the scenes. Like even in Godzilla 2014, like he didn't use it until middle of that final fight, and it's like the charge doom, and it's like this cool thing. It's like it's a payoff. Like this, it's just like he's just spraying it everywhere.
it's almost like it's his first line of attack, which again you could say, oh, it's how it was in the older movies, but much different context.
not even really in the original movies too. Like at least in the Showa era.
Well,
Like
and what meant like I meant just not before the suit universe.
yeah. So what I don't understand is going back to the critical reception thing. Why do people hate Pacific Rim 2 as opposed to Pacific Rim? Why don't people like Pacific Rim 2? And again, it's because, in a way, I think the emphasis on all action is like a double-edged sword. And also, that story has this, not story, that movie also has the same kind of problems that Adam Wingard's movie have with these monsters. Everything feels weightless. The story is just nonsensical.
Well, I feel like that was too like it lost, like you're saying, what made it special. Remember, some now little children can build Jaegers.
It's
Again,
like,
like the Jaegers
yeah,
were basically like almost look like guys in suits running around, not giant mechanical uh, suits or what you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
it loses all sense of scale. It becomes basically a Saturday morning cartoon, people fighting on sets as opposed to at least acting like giant robots and monsters should kind of act. Because it's not so much the realism, it's like that sense of scale that people need for these kinds of things. Otherwise, you know, what's the difference between like humans doing this versus giant robots? I mean, you could put
Yeah.
like the Iron Man suit on, basically the same thing.
I think the biggest problem this movie has, and this movie has so many problems, I can't even count it, is that there it doesn't feel like there are any stakes because Godzilla essentially just shows up and just beats everybody up. There are no stakes with these monsters. At least in 2014, the stakes were okay. We got to stop these monsters from procreating, otherwise we're done for. The King of the Monsters, we got to stop Ghidorah because he's trying to control the Titans and shape the world to his liking. There aren't any stakes in this one, really.
Well, I mean,
You know what
s-
their plan is, but there's never that moment where everybody's at their lowest point. I mean, maybe for Kong, but you never felt like, oh wow, how are they going to get out of this one? Because Godzilla's there to ruin everything and like wreck
a-
everything.
actually, I was going to say that was kind of the same problem for Godzilla versus Kong. The stakes were, oh, they're building Mecha Godzilla. Well, kind of makes sense to build. So, I don't know. Again, what are the stakes? They're building a Titan deterrent. I mean, okay, makes sense. It's not really. I wouldn't call that bad
Also,
stakes.
also too, like in that prophecy when she said like it almost ended Godzilla, where like they didn't even establish like it was his ancient race that drove him back. It was him drove all the apes back. Like what's the point of calling them just to get Godzilla? It's like the Justice League problem. It's like, well, we're just here to get Superman.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
Yeah, like same thing for Kong too. I mean, what are the stakes for Kong? Like he doesn't want the Scar King to get out. It's like, well,
But they
your
they
your
can
realm
get out
is
though.
well that your realm is the Hollow Earth. Once it leaves Hollow Earth, it's kind of not your problem anymore. So
yeah, I'm sure they would go through the portal in 5 minutes. It all gets sent back.
like, no, we're gonna take over Hollow Earth. We don't want to fight Godzilla.
Like I think I genuinely think Godzilla could take on all those apes. Like
He
he was
probably
able to
could.
take on he was able to take on Shima no problem. Like Ghidorah was more of a threat.
Yeah,
Like
because Ghidorah was just better written as a villain, and he was also just
like
more imposing. Like he was evil.
yeah,
He was evil because he
it was-
liked
they
it.
they
Well,
tried to make
you
Shima sympathetic, like it was a slave to Scar King. Like you have this giant titan put the Earth in an ice age before. Use that. You don't need a lesser version of Kong, like on top of that, riding Shimu like a horse. Like just have Shimu. Like have it break out somehow. Like Kong accidentally wakes it, it gets onto the Earth, and it starts essentially just by its own power, almost sends the Earth into an ice age, and then Godzilla and Kong have to team up and fight it. Simple, I think that's better because then it's like, oh crap, then there could be a low point, like maybe Godzilla loses, Kong loses, and then they have to get back together, and the world is like half the world's already in an ice age, and like that's where you could have that low point for everyone, like, oh crap, how are we gonna get out of this?
like normal storytelling, what you're
Yeah,
saying.
like in King of
Yeah,
the Monsters, when after Godzilla is accidentally hit with the oxygen destroyer, Ghidorah's running around like unchecked and just ruining everything and destroying
cities
everything.
are being flooded,
Yeah,
destroyed. He's awakened. He awoke. All the Titans were being awoken around the
and
world,
then
so
yeah,
they,
they're destroying everything.
yeah. It's just like I said to Craig, I go, and Wingard, it's funny for someone who claims to be a big Godzilla fan, he seems to really invest his story into Kong. Now I know Kong, because he's a gorilla, he can show emotion and stuff like that. I think what Adam Wingard should do is he should get a cartoon series and just do Kong. Like just this should have been a Kong movie, him versus Scar King. Battle of the Apes. Like I think he really should just do like cartoons, like 30-minute episodes, so it's really short, perfect for him. And then like all the wacky nonsense with fights, it's a cartoon. You can get away with it.
Yeah.
No, I want to say two things.
Yes.
One, I disagree with you only have the ape be the emotional one because it can emote better. I really don't agree with that. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I can identify with things that aren't human looking as long as they're well written. As long as they act like a human, right? That's what I think matters more than an ape can better express human emotions. I just don't agree with that, the notion where that's the only reason why they could pick Kong. I think they're just lazy. And
Yes.
two, this is just a problem with these Adam Wingard movies, how why are they fighting just another ape?
Because they're
Like the only
uncreative.
reason, yeah, because the only reason they fought Mechagodzilla, that was a actual kaiju, but it's not like he's the most creative one. It's just Mecha Godzilla. I mean, the name kind of describes what it is. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
what I'm
like just
saying.
picking the least creative monsters to fight.
Yeah, yeah, they make this new Titan that has the ability to set the world into an ice age, and we sideline it for this ape with a throne and a whip.
Uh, yeah, a whip from a spine, which I'm guessing he got that from like the Shimu species.
An ape with a whip that gets beaten down in every fight he's in. He's
It
essentially
just
a
feels so
punk.
lame.
He's a punk. Like Kong probably would have won that fight had he not let Shimu out. And I
Yeah,
think this is what I was thinking too. I think if you want to fix this movie, first thing you do is you get rid of it. But in all seriousness, I think they should have
Get
made
rid of Rasputin.
yeah, they should have had Kong and Scar King get introduced, or not Kong and Scar King. They should have introduced Scar King 20 to 30 minutes into the movie. Waiting a whole hour is ridiculous. I think they should have just cut out the stuff in the beginning with Kong getting chased by those dogs. I know his trap introduces that fracture that goes into the subterranean Hollow Earth. I don't even know what that was. Whatever it's
Those
called.
again, Hollow Earth's all the way down.
Yeah, whatever. So that would have tightened up the pacing a little bit more because it felt way too long. Again, 64 minutes in, you get introduced to the main villain. What kind of thinking is that? You're going to lose half the audience. People want to see him fight this monster, and then you do it an hour in. I don't know. I don't know how this
Well,
guy is making
well, it's just stupid
movies.
too. Like, what's the whole point of the scene with Kong getting his tooth replaced?
Just so Scar King can laugh at him, Craig.
I mean, I'm really trying to think what was the point of that because you could say, oh, it
Just so we
introduces
could
the
have
idea.
Trapper come in. It was a way to introduce Trapper, Craig, so we could have this cool Australian guy with shades and wearing a whole a
Hawaiian shirt.
Magnum PI shirt.
Oh, I was
So
thinking
they
because they
could.
replaced the tooth so that could like segue into the Beast glove, but I feel like you can't segue into the Beast glove. Like, who would think of Titan augmentations? These things are so destructive as is. Why do you want to make them more destructive?
Yeah, that was so dumb. That was so bad.
It feels even weirder too after the previous movie where humans built Mechagodzilla to stop, in case to keep Titans in check. Why would you build something to like, keep the Titans from getting more out of control?
And power him up.
Well, it just feels weird.
So
Like if your biggest fear is okay, well, we can't find a way to stop them. Why would you power them up? It just again, it's very very limited thinking in how this universe works.
do you think next movie Kong's gonna get body armor? Because they got the
Oh god,
hand, he
he
got
looked
his
like Iron
weapon.
Man.
Yeah, give him an Iron Man suit.
I think probably again one of the worst things about this movie is that it is just so crazy. Like it jumped the shark, nuked the fridge. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, there's no saving this universe. You'd have to start over because if you try doing a serious movie with a different director, it would not fit at all because the universe is destroyed. Like they ruined the MonsterVerse. One guy ruined the MonsterVerse with two movies.
See, what many movies these days now do, they just say, um, these two movies aren't canon, right? They'll just say, oh, we're branching off the timeline from Godzilla King of the Monsters, because I think they're doing that with the Alien movies. They're saying, oh, after the first, no, it was Terminator. That's what it was. They
Yeah,
keep
Terminator.
making sequels to Terminator 2,
Yeah, yeah. I
so we'll have
think
like a million
yeah.
sequels to Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Where
Just
Legendary really screwed up, what was when King of the Monsters came out, they chose the absolute worst release date because they panicked when that movie underperformed. If they released it in March of 2019, I don't know why they even dared to have it come out after Endgame, a month after Endgame, which is only the second highest grossing movie of all time. That scared them, I think. That scared Legendary where that movie made under 400. They're like, well, we need Godzilla and Kong because then there's more marquee value. Now we're not. I don't think we're ever going to get another just solo Godzilla movie done by Legendary. He's gonna be with Kong because of that movie's box office disappointment.
I don't get it. And again, to bring up Godzilla minus one again, that's probably the worst time the movie could come out because of how close it came out to an award-winning movie.
Oh yeah. Did you know that it's the shortest amount of time between two Godzilla movies coming out?
Yeah,
Like
probably the
it's
worst
under
time for this
200
movie.
days for even in in '64 they released two Godzilla movies. They came out longer than came out farther than this.
Because the other American ones, you had 2014, which is basically a lot of it was just apologizing for the 98 one.
Yeah.
But the most recent Godzilla movie was Godzilla Final Wars 2004, 10 years ago. Godzilla King of the Monsters came out 3 years after Shin Godzilla, but two very different takes, not much of a comparison there.
And
That there's
it
like
was
a
the first sequel to 2014 also.
Yeah, and it's not there's like much of a comparison between these two. They're not really trying to go for similar things, just one's very good and one's very bad. So I mean,
Well,
like, you could if you get like
yeah.
King, if people really praise Shin Godzilla, that's like, oh, great, whatever. And then Godzilla King of Monsters is good. So there's like not as big drop off in quality, so, like compared to these two, where it's a huge drop in quality.
Well, the thing also is that people are like, oh, well, I don't care for characters. When you compare it to King or not King of the Monsters, when you compare it to minus one, it's not like you, it's not like you can only have good monster action and good human characters. You can do both. They do they realize they can do both? Godzilla minus one
That
is great.
requires effort.
You can do both. Pacific Rim, you can do both. They did both. I just don't understand this kind of thinking because the action in Pacific Rim is way better than this. And that movie felt more grounded than this. It is shocking how this movie just went absolutely crazy. And I feel like it's going to be one of those movies. I can't think of an example, but I know there are some where there's this one sequel that is just completely insane, completely crazy, and it kills the franchise. I'm sure there's an
I know it's probably a
example.
term for it, but
Yeah.
this, I see, I'm not even, I don't think it's gonna even kill the franchise because if it makes enough money, sells enough toys, they'll make another one. I know it's not
And they
doing well
already,
critically,
I
but
know Adam Wingard already expressed interest to do a third.
No, please get him out of there. Please.
because I mean, it's very early for us to tell how well it's going to do financially because we're seeing it, Thursday and Friday of opening weekend, so we have no idea how well it's doing. But again, if it does well enough financially, they'll make another one.
Which is fine. It's just
But they'll give it to Adam Wingard. They'll say
I
he
don't
knows what
want
he's
him
doing.
back. He is the worst choice to do. I know Gareth Edwards is never going to come back. One, because he said he doesn't want to do big blockbuster movies anymore. And two, I can't imagine he's happy seeing the movie he crafted in that universe just go down in flames.
Well, like you said, there's no going back.
Yeah, each entry is honestly going to have to be more ridiculous than the other, and then it's going to get to the point where it's so ridiculous, no one's going to care. And it's all because
Maybe
of one guy.
like Fast and the Furious. Maybe at some point they'll go into space
Yeah. I mean that yeah,
fighting
that's I think that's a
aliens.
perfect example where they're just so far down. They're so gone. It's like a lost soul, essentially.
There's no redeeming you.
Yeah.
You're getting no salvation. Very
So
fitting to just for this weekend too.
I was just checking financially. It's at 67 million in the box office,
That's pretty good right now.
Yeah,
and
see, I
then
told you
also
they're making a
too,
third one come.
and another one too. Colin is the film. They said the film made 10 million from Thursday previews, the best ever total for a MonsterVerse film. So yeah, he's coming back for a third.
I just he I can't take him. He is just he is a terrible director first off. He has no concept of pacing or even how to direct actors well. Because like that whole exposition dump, I don't know how as a director you can change some of the lines. I don't know how he gave the green light for Rebecca Hall's exposition dump. That was almost as bad as the Madam Web line, where it's like he was in the Amazon with my mother when she died or whatever. It was that bad, where she was looking at these drawings. I don't even think there was text. She was looking at these
So I was going to
drawings.
mention that too, because apparently, at some point in the movie, she had like a book where she translated the Iwi language.
I
So
didn't
I'm
see
assuming
that.
they have something written down where you can translate it. I mean, I don't know but it's hieroglyphics. I think I mentioned this before, where the only reason people could translate the hieroglyphics is because ancient Egyptian was on the Rosetta Stone, which also on it was, I think, Greek and Latin, if I remember correctly. So if it's
It
just a
would have
bunch of
made
pictures, I mean, how are you going to be able to translate it? You might need some text to translate it.
it would have made more sense if they had the like Iwi priestess talking with the girl, and the girl was telling it to her.
I don't know, just very weird.
I
But
think.
also, what
Oh yeah, Craig, you go.
in Kong Skull Island, do they even talk or have a language? I mean,
I don't think they
uh,
did.
which is very odd for a civilization which is probably based off the Polynesians. I mean, they didn't have written language, but they at least spoke a language.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think also this might be my hot take. I think this movie is worse than the Godzilla '98 one, and I have a
Uh,
reason why.
I mean, I really don't disagree with that. I mean, I
Well,
don't think the Godzilla 98 one is that bad.
I think here's my reasoning why. Because they got Godzilla wrong from the start. So they never really cared to do something that was like they didn't have the tools because they didn't care enough. They didn't have the tools to make a faithful Godzilla adaptation. They just did whatever they wanted. This movie, they
Yeah.
squandered what they had so spectacularly that we get this mess. I think that is worse. When you have
Well,
the tools to do it and you just destroy it entirely. At least they didn't even like attempt to do it.
yeah. If the '98 one literally was named anything other than Godzilla or tied to him in any way, it would have been there. It would there really wouldn't be much hate for it because it's still if as a like just a monster movie, it's still entertaining. Like I mean, like
They
some of the
convey
dialogue,
scale
but
pretty well in that
yeah,
movie. Way better than this.
a smaller monster,
Yeah.
a much smaller monster. Like so it's just
They
can't
treat it
like
more
because
seriously too, that movie.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And when you talk about scale, because they they established that Shimu is bigger than Ghidorah, but you don't get that feeling when because there's no scaling to really show the difference in size between Shimu and everyone else because the fighting is so quick and everything. Godzilla's tackling Shimu through like buildings and stuff. Like there's nothing from like people looking up at them. Like when they come out of the Hollow Earth into Rio de Janeiro, right? And the people on the beach. That is a perfect shot for when Scar King stands up to just do him as he's standing up. Have it from the ground up. The people looking up at him as he's standing up, and you could get some scaling right there. It's simple. It's a simple thing to do that'll make it so much better. To make it feel like, oh my god, this 300-foot ape just came out and is standing in front of us. But they show it from his point of view, yelling down at everyone, which you still don't get the proper scaling because he could be 50 feet looking down at them or 500 feet. Like, it just baffles me. Like,
We talked
why?
about how terrible the Rio fight was too. It was pretty bad. It was short
Well,
and it was
I think
bad.
the most egregious one, Colin, was the Hollow Earth with the zero gravity fight.
Oh yeah, that's
That was the most mind-boggling fight I've ever seen. Like they're all like jumping from rock to rock, and then you have Godzilla like
frozen
midair,
Yeah.
swimming midair like a shark at Shimu, and like I was like, what is this? Like, and then Scar King when him and Kong fought, he's doing like backflips over
I was
Kong.
gonna say that he did that in Rio too, and it looks so bad. This is supposed to be a 300-foot monster, and it just looks like some parkour guy running around, like a concrete jungle of some sort. I don't know.
Well, apparently Godzilla, not only is he an Olympic diver, but he also is a fan of WWE when he suplex slammed Kong.
Oh yeah. I just hate Godzilla looking and running so fast because it literally goes against everything he's ever been like, aside from the '98 one, where Godzilla's always been the slower monster, and he'd always struggle with the monsters that are much faster than him because he's too big and bulky and awkward to try to like get his hands on them. In this
Yeah.
one, it's like, what's his weakness? Is he not? He's like Superman essentially in this one. Like in the '90s
Yeah.
one, Godzilla struggled with Rodan because Rodan was just too fast for him. The male Muto in the 2014 one was faster and smaller than Godzilla, and it took him a while to get his hands on him. And he had a trick on the killer.
Megaguirus.
Yeah,
Megaguirus
this
was too
Godzilla
fast
would
for him.
outrun Megaguirus.
Oh, he could jump up and catch her.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I hate it so much. Where they just ruined what 3 movies in the MonsterVerse were just building up to. They just completely ruined it. And again, I said it earlier. This movie makes Godzilla. I like Godzilla vs Kong more now because of this disaster. It made me like that movie, and I hate that.
See, I can't say it would make me like that movie more. It just see Godzilla vs Kong has made me indifferent. Like I'm not as obviously we're not as upset as Colin because I'm just indifferent. Like it's bad, they ruined it. Time to move on.
But
I
this
think the
one,
thing
I'll take it more time to mourn though.
yeah. I mean, because I think Godzilla vs. Kong was shocking on how bad it was and all the nonsense they did in that movie, like the Hollow Earth vehicles, where it just
See,
went
I would
so
say,
horrible.
I would say Godzilla vs. Kong was more upsetting to me because of the movie it followed up, because it was a complete 180. This was already coming off of what you knew it was going to be worse than Godzilla vs. Kong. I was anticipating it, and especially with like Adam Wingard, like now that they gave him even more control and like we're like, yeah, go ahead, do whatever. Like I was anticipating it, so I can't. Not that Godzilla vs Kong is worse than this, but in terms of like when I like actually angry me and was like just like what is this like. I think Godzilla vs Kong because it followed King of the Monsters. It was just a complete 180. You're coming off the best MonsterVerse movie to that and then to this.
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong was just shocking how bad it was. This I hate it so much. But I will say, I did laugh twice during this movie. And obviously, the first one was when Kong uses Suko as a weapon.
Yeah, that was
That
pretty
made me
funny.
laugh.
So did they ever say that name in the movie? Because remember you
They did
told
not.
us
They
his
did not
name.
say Suko. They just called him like Little Kong. That was just so funny. He grabs Suko by the legs, starts using him as a weapon, and he throws him. And the second one was when that monkey was monkeying in front of Kong, just like shouting at him, and Kong punches him. That was so
The
funny.
other part that made the one scene that really made me laugh was really because of what Craig said. Was when Kong got cornered in that like one alley by the other apes, and like they all have like weapons, and the one has like
Yeah,
a club.
they have like big
Craig
clubs
goes,
or knives.
Craig goes, "Is Kong about to get marked?" Craig called it the Monkey Mafia.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Because
they
then
have
you
like little
realize, like,
daggers.
yeah,
Like
and the
on
one and the
them.
main one's like has like a club, like it's like a bat. It's like he's about to get mugged.
Break Kong's ankles because he missed the payment.
Scar King doesn't like when you miss payments,
Yeah,
Kong.
Scar King's is like a what's it called? Like a pool shark or what's it like a loan shark? He's a loan
Yeah.
shark. Oh my god, that was so funny. I was laughing for like 5 minutes after the fact. Like I just like
Kong just punched him in the face.
no the Suko one. I was not expecting to use him as a weapon. And then my smile just went away immediately after watching the rest of the movie. But yeah, uh, I hate this movie so much.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm trying to think of other points because I wrote down some notes about just like the stuff I hated the most and the stuff that was the most egregious. And again, just to reiterate my point, I was just so shocked in how short the battles were, especially if it's supposed
Yeah.
to be the movie's selling point.
Didn't Adam Wingard at one point during his promotion of the movie say like, "Oh, we're gonna have like tons of time dedicated to the fights"?
Yeah, he was wrong. I don't know what he was talking about.
I think he said like we have a 6 minute fight uninterrupted,
That definitely
something to that
wasn't. There
effect.
100% was not that.
Well, yeah, we know that now, but I'm 99.9% sure he said that at some point.
So my question is, so where do you go from here? Because Godzilla has essentially he's just been mowing down Titans on the Earth. Kong now has he's the leader of the apes now. He has Shimu with him and Suko. So not only do you have Godzilla who can take on any Titan now with no problem, you have now Shimu on your side, and now you have all the apes. So begs the question, like, who's next? Like, is there going to be a subterranean realm?
Oh, which reminds me too. They did absolutely nothing with that army of apes. They did nothing.
Well,
They could
Mothra
have.
basically took them all out.
Well, no, like at the camp or whatever. which looked like Mordor, by the way, when they're crossing that skeleton bridge to the Scar King's lair. It looked like Mordor.
Yeah, it's like it's
But they
stupid.
did, besides like the few goons, they did nothing with that army. Imagine like Godzilla and Kong standing their ground, having to fight all those monkeys. Instead, they just beat up Scar King, who's the lamest villain in all the Godzilla movies. Like even not even Gabra got beaten up that bad. And he was in a kid's dream.
Now, Colin, explain this to me. You just mentioned that the Scar King's lair looked like Mordor,
Yeah.
and there was lava flowing out
Yes.
uh, from the place, right?
Yes.
Now, lava is, from the center of the earth that comes out through volcanoes and stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Where does this lava come from if they're in the center of the earth?
The Earth's magma core. I don't know.
But like, then where does other lava come from?
You're thinking too
I
much,
just
Craig.
don't
You're
know.
thinking too
I
much.
just don't know.
Be careful, Craig. Adam Wingard's monkey mafia will come after you.
So the thing
So,
also, like, what they completely ignored Godzilla shooting a hole through the crust of the Earth to the Hollow Earth, because then they're going back to that stupid like portal vortex nonsense in this movie. Because like the thing that was just so mind-boggling and how they messed it up is the Hollow Earth and Godzilla vs Kong. So I guess it's back to you need a portal now to get there instead of just shooting a hole straight through the Earth's crust.
don't question it.
Yeah, I don't
I
get
just
it.
don't know how you have script breakdowns. You have your first read of the script in a room with all these people, the cast, the producers, everyone's there, and they're reading this nonsense. And how did they approve of this? Or at least in Godzilla vs Kong's case, how did no one stop them and be like, "Wait, that makes no sense"? You take like it's a portal to get there, and Godzilla shoots a hole through it, and they fly out the hole. Like that makes no
See,
sense.
I don't think the producers care about stuff like that. The producers see stuff like, oh, we can sell toys
They
that have
just
to go
sell.
through the
They see
portal.
dollar signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just
we
gonna
can
say the
sell
producers
toys of
probably
Kong with an axe.
but their only word was change up the design.
Those are my notes.
Yeah, just make sure Godzilla has a new look and Kong has a
Give
new weapon.
Kong the glove. Yeah.
I'm just curious where are they going next? I mean, because but the thing is that's why the Hollow Earth is like it's like the multiverse. It's such a stupid cop out because we don't know how deep the Hollow Earth is. We can keep digging and unlocking more monsters, and it's like it's just so.
I think they're
And
gonna
that's
do
why
aliens next, like alien monsters. I think that's all you really can do.
they
Well, we
did,
had
but they already did
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah. Yeah.
Yeah, but they already. I don't know, Daniel. This is the same person who decided to use a monkey as a villain. I don't know.
It's not even just they used a monkey as he used a monkey as a villain that gets beat up by another monkey.
It just again, like I just hate how uncreative it was. I feel like in King of the Monsters, we're gonna keep going back to this, that at least try to design new looking kind of monster or new looking kind of kaiju that people maybe haven't seen before. At least tried, right? And this one just
Monkeys,
skinny monkey.
skinny red
Yeah,
monkey, with blue
like you would
eyes.
think, like especially if they're going deeper into another part of the Hollow Earth, like it would unlock new monsters, like not just other big apes.
Yeah,
Like
like Shimu's design is honestly as vanilla as it comes. It's just, you know.
Almost like a white Godzilla.
Yeah,
They
I mean, like
whitewashed him.
with like a turtle head, turtle
go back
face.
to what Toho did, like Gigan. Like who came up with that? And that was in the '70s. Like those
Mm-hmm.
people who
Those
created
kinds
the
of artists cost too much money, Colin. We're on a
yeah,
tight budget.
they made the coolest kind of monsters back then.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that they were attached to like more of the worst movies,
Oh
but
yeah,
at
Godzilla
least
vs Gigan's definitely
at least
terrible.
but that was like the redeeming quality about those like the kind of show era ones was like the mid part was like you at least got cooler. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say Kamacuras, Kumunga, or a beer were cool, but you got Hedorah. I always loved the Smog Monster. Gigan. You got Megalon. Then you got Mechagodzilla. At least getting towards the end of it, you at least were getting cool monsters and stuff. But
Yeah. I'm
No,
just
it's
so
just
shocked that I think I might be misquoting Adam Wingard, but I think he said the Scar King is a bigger threat than Ghidorah. And nothing in this
Is he
movie,
joking?
I don't know, nothing in this movie suggests that at all. Ghidorah would kill all those monkeys down there. He would kill Shimu. Ghidorah was an actual threat in that movie.
So I just
that's
thought
fun.
about this. So you know how in the movie their outpost got destroyed by the Scar King?
Yeah.
Our outpost is by a portal, right?
Yeah, why didn't he just go out through there?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying before is that they
And there
said
are other portals too.
those
I mean, it's not
monsters
like
were trapped down there, but they clearly weren't trapped. They could just roam around.
Yeah, there's a whole nother world for them to.
well,
I,
there's just tons of portals lying around too. I mean, I don't
There's
understand
also no
why.
reason. There's no reason. It seems like, especially when they establish, like, in Godzilla vs Kong, like Titans want to go back to the Hollow Earth. It's like, so why would Scar King want to come to the surface world?
I don't know. I don't know what his plan was.
Don't ask questions.
Like he already like has his like the other apes doing like slave labor. Like they're all like
That
moving
was actually kind
blocks and
of funny.
stuff. Yeah, I told her Craig, I go, are we doing like slave labor? Like they're moving like blocks and stuff.
Yeah,
He's just
slavery's
sitting in his
cruel.
throne. Like,
So does the Scar King just sit there in his chair the whole time?
apparently.
Yeah, he wasn't exiled to the Hollow Earth. He was exiled to his throne room.
Yeah. I mean, that was just the most strangest thing ever. Just like that whole sequence. Because it was just so weird. Like all these monkeys are doing this. I kept on thinking like this is Planet of the Apes. This is like definitely Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or something.
Oh, 100%. I felt like we were watching almost a different movie.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but also Godzilla's barely in it. Did we mention that?
I said
Sort
he
of.
was sidelined again.
Yeah, he was in this movie less than Godzilla vs Kong. Felt like he's not in this movie at
But
all, really.
that's the problem when you make him invincible. Like, what can you really do with him?
I mean, that's the thing that he wasn't really invincible in the first two MonsterVerse movies. He was powerful, but he fought very powerful Mutos. He was getting double teamed, and he fought Ghidorah, who was more powerful than him. I mean,
Yeah,
it's he wasn't really invincible, at least in the first two.
Like, he could beat them, but they could also beat him.
yeah, he
Yeah.
almost lost to Ghidorah in King of the Monsters because then Ghidorah got that power up, and then he like atmosphere dropped him.
Yeah,
That's a thing. There's
it's
like never a sense of danger. I know we were talking about that earlier, like the sense of threat. Like you need that kind of feeling when you have an
yeah.
antagonistic monster. You have to
Like you
show
don't need
how big of a threat they are.
yeah, you don't need to humanize him too, and like, oh, he enslaved the rest of his race. It's like, why don't you just make him a force of nature and just his destructive capability? That's enough of a threat.
Yeah. Like, why did Godzilla trap them down there? Why didn't he just kill all of them like he's killing all the other monsters?
Didn't they say like during the Great Ape War between the Kongs and the Godzillas, like Godzilla's wiped them out? It's
Yeah.
not like he hasn't done it before.
Yeah, well, yeah, they said Godzilla was responsible for driving the Kongs to Skull Island, and this Godzilla, like, he drove everyone back. Like,
Like
what's
the
the point of
push.
having Kong there? Yeah, I have the female Muto driving her back in the street.
Yeah, all this action is just in this movie is lame, it's uninspired. It's very video game-esque, as Daniel said earlier.
Yeah, I also hate every time they go into the Hollow Earth, or especially in that one in the zero gravity fight scene,
Uh,
the spinning the cameras. Like,
oh
I
yeah, they
hate
did
that.
that when they first appear in Rio.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
they
that's
also did
not
it
cool. It's like
when they
disorienting. I can't speak. But
yeah, when they
it's
did it
it's
too. Yeah,
hard on the eyes for the viewers.
yeah. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, you want to talk about, like, oh, this is clear fights for the monsters. Like, so why do you have them doing, flips and Godzilla swimming in the air and we're doing 360s and I'm like, what is this? Like,
It feels like an amateur is doing this. Not a guy who's directed like five or six movies, and I think maybe seven, and six of his movies are bad.
What's the one good one?
This one called The Guest, which apparently is really good. I haven't seen it.
I don't know about that.
So, what is the appeal of this movie? Like, what is the rewatchability? Because I can't
None.
imagine anybody would want to come back and see the movie again, especially if they want to see the very short monster scenes. Like that'd just be on YouTube, honestly.
Yeah, you just watch Kong being iconic for 10
Ah,
minutes.
I hate those titles. Those titles are cringe.
well,
Oh,
it,
100%.
it's
That's why I won't watch them.
well, it's
I may
funny.
be what I'm looking for, but I won't watch it.
I said to Craig after the movie, I was like a little while after we were talking, I was I almost forgot we just saw this movie.
Yeah,
Like
it's very
it's very
forgettable.
there's nothing because there wasn't even there's not even like a cool like one Godzilla is barely in it and there's like not even like a cool or memorable scene.
Yeah, it's like in King of the Monsters, there's Ghidorah breaking out. There's the first fight between them, which is pretty cool. There's Rodan's whole sequence, which is probably like one of the highlights of the entire movie.
Godzilla
Also,
showing back up in Boston.
Yeah,
I
Godzilla in
always like
Boston. Even when like Mothra, as brief as it was, when she hatches out of her egg,
yeah.
I think this is probably a point that maybe we talked about in Godzilla vs Kong, but these movies don't treat the Titans, like gods, like how King of the
oh,
Monsters
we're way
treated
past that. I mean,
how they treated that, where they're actual big monsters that have this, what's the word? This grand feeling to them, like they are higher than everybody else. They are gods, and now it's just like,
hence the rename to Titans, but
yeah,
seem to go over people's heads.
they think it's probably just to sound cool or something.
Which I mean doesn't hurt,
Does
but I
sound
definitely
cool.
think it was a thematic reasoning for the name change.
Yeah.
Which, in terms of sounding cool, which this does not, but what is the point of the title, New Empire?
Oh, I
Yeah,
completely
and
forgot
I
about
guess
that.
at the end it's Kong's whole like mob squad of
I don't think
monkeys.
that's what it comes from. I think they just try to find a cool title.
I mean,
Because all the
what
other
would you
ones
call
make.
it? Godzilla and Kong, the Scar King who's barely in the movie?
I mean, Godzilla X Kong is fine. It's crossover.
Yeah. Oh, which according to
Yeah.
Adam Wingard, I don't know if you guys saw this, the X is silent in the title. I'm not making this up.
Oh, I mean, is he slow? Is he taking stupid pills? I mean, of course, people don't really say it.
Yeah, according to Wingard, the X in the film's title is silent.
What are you taking stupid pills again? I'm rewatching a lot of Arrested Development.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like they treat the monsters with such little regard, especially like, was it Tiamat?
Tiamat.
Tiamat? Talk about getting done dirty. That was just so embarrassing.
Which is funny because Tiamat, I thought had a pretty cool design. Seemed like it was a threat, like with the scaly body, super aggressive, very territorial. I was like, all right, like that'd be a cool, cool Titan to actually utilize. And
Nope.
Godzilla shows up, wraps around, bites it, and then blows it up.
If we're going to talk about fight scenes again, I do want to bring up the fact that there were two fights that ended off screen. The Tiamat one and that serpent
Oh
dragon
yeah,
that
yeah.
Kong was eating. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, you come for the action." Though, why are they cutting away from the action?
They're doing what people criticize King of the Monsters did, but at least they showed the ending of the fights too in that one. Like, yeah, they would cut to the human characters because in that movie they're trying to actually have human characters in the movie that were important to the plot, not just people exposition dumping everything.
He's no longer a boring soldier man. He's Ford Brody.
Yeah, I apologize to Ford Brody. I think people should apologize to Mark Russell too.
Well, he's also I don't know. I just don't get when people say he's bad. But like, well, these characters are good. You got grooming conspiracy theory man.
You literally have a Titan vet or dentist.
Yeah. Who has no character at all. He's just there to look cool, I guess. I got
Also, you forgot about the pilot who, or the
gets eaten
pilot
by a
slash,
tree.
yeah, well, I was saying pilot slash security guy slash guide, who's the least fit out of all of them.
Yeah, they should have brought a whole team. I don't know what they were thinking, bringing 4 people or
Well, I
5.
mean, if you're talking about like security, I mean, I know guys with guns aren't gonna do much with Titans, but just having one guy to seem to, who's also your pilot, doesn't seem all that wise.
Also, Craig, I know we were bringing up the trapper guy. It made me think of remember that one scene where he let that mosquito like suck his
Oh my
blood.
God, I
You
want
know,
to, I
like,
want that guy to shoot him right there.
you're in an unknown area, like you don't
You
know
get
these
malaria
creatures.
and die.
Yeah, I at least I was thinking to myself, it would have been funny if it's like at the end, they get through all this and then he just dies.
He got super malaria.
You got Titan malaria.
Like mosquitoes carry diseases. Like what are you stupid? Oh, it needs the blood more than me. Do you
No, it
want the
doesn't.
diseases too? I mean,
It most certainly does not.
it just it's stupid. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's stupid. I imagine the person who wrote that genuinely does not know mosquitoes can give you diseases and get you sick. I think it was just an idiot wrote that.
I don't think it's not that you think, Craig. An idiot did write that.
Because I just have a hard time believing mosquitoes are everywhere. How do you not know this? I mean, unless you grew up in the Arctic or something.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
I just don't get it.
I don't know. I guess Adam Wingard thought that it was cool or something. I don't know.
Well, this is the times where he wants to be naturey man. We'll get that guy that espouse, oh, nature's great, man, while we basically destroy the ecosystem, all that stuff. There are characters that are Titans that are supposed to be protecting the ecosystem, and they just seem to want to destroy everything in their path now.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll get off the mosquito thing, but they include vectors of parasitic diseases such as malaria, filariasis, broval diseases such as yellow fever and dengue fever. By transmitting diseases, mosquito causes the death of 725,000 people per year. Yeah, that's the mosquito. They're like, he needs the blood more than me. You
An
high?
idiot. And he's supposed to be knowledge on, maybe he's not the expert on mosquitoes, but I mean, I just feel like this is common knowledge, not even just for some Titan doctor. I feel like most people know don't get bitten by mosquitoes. At least try not
Craig,
to.
he's a dentist. He wouldn't know that.
What is
He
the
could fix
job
the mosquito.
industry for a guy who fixes Titan teeth? Like, how do you have a job? How do you not
Especially
unemployed?
especially when Godzilla's murdering them by the minute.
Yeah, Godzilla's saturating that market real fast. I don't know. It honestly feels like a kid wrote this. I can't believe that 3 people wrote this. This is the best they could come up with. That is shocking.
You know what actually feels like, Colin? Even worse. It feels like a kid who had an assignment due at midnight, procrastinated, and then put all this into Chat GPT, and then this is your result.
No, I think Chat GPT could come up with something better than this.
Do you want me
This
let
is
me ask it
embarrassing.
something. So we're talking about ChatGPT. Let me ask it, write a sequel to Godzilla versus Kong. Should I do that?
Yeah, do it. It'd definitely come up with something way better than this trash. And I think also, while Craig's doing that, I think it's important that we didn't really compare it to Godzilla minus one because I know people online are like, "Oh well, of course
Yeah.
it's so much different than Godzilla minus one, or it's not gonna be anything like
Oh
it."
my God, writing it scene by scene. This is going to take a while. Let me try to pull up the synopsis it gave me.
Things that have a 200 page.
Yeah, I've been testing it out for some programming stuff, but let me I don't need the every scene.
Well, like, Colin, back to your point, like, because there are the people that, like, the people that consider themselves, like, real critics will say, like, oh, they were unfairly, like, directly comparing this to minus one.
Yeah, that's a fool's errand.
Yeah.
So, do you
So
want me to read you the synopsis and plot
Yes,
summary it gave
yes.
me? So, the title is Godzilla vs. Kong Titans United. Synopsis.
that's
After
actually
the
better.
After the epic clash witnessed by the world, Godzilla and Kong have gained legendary status among humans and Titans alike. Their battle brought attention to the existence of to the other powerful beings across the globe. However, a new threat emerges, one that requires the might of both Titans and the cooperation of their allies. That's the synopsis.
Sounds a lot better than what we got, honestly.
So, the basic plot summary, the story picks up several months after the battle between Godzilla and Kong. Monarch, the secretive organization dedicated to the study of Titans, has been working tirelessly to monitor and understand the remaining Titans across the world. Dr. Eileen Andrews, now respected worldwide for her work with Kong, continues to study and care for the giant ape on Skull Island. I don't know if you can
Okay.
do that anymore.
We're back to Skull Island.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dr. Mark Russell, a prominent scientist, has been studying Godzilla's behavior, notices unusual seismic activity deep below the ocean surface. His research indicates the awakening of an ancient titan, one with the power to devastate the planet. Monarch quickly contacts Eileen Andrews and Mark Russell, urging them to unite Godzilla and Kong once more, believing that only the two together can save the world. Now, that's given me a bunch of scenes, which I don't have time to read.
Does it have like what the monster's called?
Let me skim this. Leviathan.
The Leviathan?
Ooh,
Yeah.
and
It even
that
has, and
and
it even has end credit scenes.
but see, Leviathan too would go into that like how they were calling the Titans like by name.
I think that sounds a lot better than this nonsense.
When you hear the
Wow.
epilogue and the end credit scene,
Yes.
so the epilogue, as the credits roll, scenes show Monarch continuing its research, uncovering new titans across the globe. The world's forever changed by the events of Godzilla vs. Kong sequel, but stands ready to face whatever challenges the future may bring. End credit scene, the
Oh,
unknown threats.
it's a
In a
goddamn
shadowy
movie.
laboratory, a mysterious figure observes the events that have just unfolded. As the camera pans, we see glimpses of plans for a new artificial titan. The figure smiles ominously, hinting at the next chapter of the Titan saga.
You know what's kind of lame? Not about the chat GPT, whatever. But they never utilized that missing head in from Godzilla King of the Monsters properly. I think they mentioned after
Well,
this it was in Mechagodzilla and that's how he short circuited, but they could have done so much with that Titan DNA thing where maybe people are trying to like evil people are trying to create new monsters. I think that could have been a more interesting angle where you can manipulate DNA.
instead of just giving Kong a new glove.
Yeah, instead of giving Kong a new glove and having him fight some pathetic monkey with a whip. Again,
They
it
could
feels like such a forced course correction from King of the Monsters because I really think Legendary got scared. They needed to change their pants, and we got this over course correction, and it's just horrible.
have. You know what's funny too is with Scar King. At least if he's gonna be another monkey, at least make him bigger than Kong.
I
And
wouldn't
like,
necessarily say they have to make him bigger. Just don't make him like such a wimp and a loser.
well, he looked pretty skinny compared to Kong.
Yeah, but you know what? It could be like that angle where maybe it's a smaller monster, but this smaller monster is more versed, he knows how to fight, whatever.
Well, see, well, this is the thing of Kong already having a weapon. At least if Scar King has a weapon and Kong doesn't, it shows he has a higher form of intelligence against Kong. He's more clever. But when Kong has an axe, a whip does nothing. And then a
A whip's a
gauntlet.
horrible weapon. I mean, it looks cool for Indiana Jones, but it's not his main weapon. He still shoots people.
I think honestly it
But
would have been cooler if he didn't have any weapon. He was still able to best Kong, who has an axe. I think that'd be so much better, even if he's a little smaller. I just think whatever they did in the movie was just terrible because, again, he shows up an hour in, almost loses his first fight, has to call in Shimu or Shimo for backup, and then he just gets thrown around the rest of the movie.
not the funny thing too is even in their fight, like he was choking out Kong. Kong breaks out and throws him, and he gets back on his feet. It's not even like they showed Kong truly beating him down. It's like he just got thrown off of Kong and then just goes to Shimu. Like it's just like it's just stupid.
Because you know what? I know we talked about Star Trek Into Darkness, and we talked about how dumb it was. We're like, oh, the bad guys got a bigger ship, so it's not like they
And
have
it's
to make.
black.
Yeah, it's not like they have to make a monster that's bigger than them to be like a bigger threat. It does help, like with Ghidorah's case, for example. But you just have to be more clever. Like maybe this monster's smaller, he's faster, but that doesn't matter in this universe anymore. He's more adept to fighting. Like there are things you can do. They just did the worst possible thing for Scar King because he's like a
Or
wimp.
maybe just it does more environmental damage or like for Shimo, it didn't have to be that big, but the fact that he can freeze things should be enough of a threat.
Yeah,
Cause an ice age. You'd send the world into extinction. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I'm so disappointed.
did Adam Wingard rewatch like the planet, like the War for the Planet of the Apes and stuff? Because there are pictures of Caesar riding horses. Like that is in those movies. Them like the apes riding horses. And I know it's from the originals too, but like
Ape stronger together.
I'm surprised Scar King didn't say that.
Yeah, that but they were almost that close from saying it. Might as well have said it.
Because I think when we did our Godzilla vs. Kong review, I don't think there was official news of Adam Wingard coming back. And I just really hope he does not come back because
He,
I
he's
can't
going to
even.
because this one's already doing fine. It's already what had the best opening like
Yeah,
preview
but
for.
you know, Justice League also had a really great opening. Not Justice League, excuse me. Batman vs Superman had a really great opening, and then it had the
But that's a
worst.
huge budget.
Well, that too, and it had the worst second weekend drop of all time. So anything can happen.
Well,
Well, it sounds like you're on some copium right now.
I am. I hate this movie. I hope it fails. So Adam
Kyle, this
Wingard.
budget was 135 million. I think it's gonna make its money back.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
it's already at half of that already.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let Adam Wingard come back, please.
Kyle, I'm an accelerationist. I believe that you should have Adam Wingard direct every single like just
Oh,
let him
that's
give
not
him
gonna
full
happen.
creative control. Tank the franchise.
Yeah, the movies get shorter.
Is this
Yeah.
movie actually shorter than the previous one?
No, it's 2 minutes longer.
Whoa. Hader said he'd make it shorter, and he went 2 minutes longer. Subverted your expectations.
I hate him. I hate his movies. He ruined the MonsterVerse, and he'll probably come back.
It was I don't know if Kyle, did you watch the when they had him sit across the guy who directed
Oh,
Minus
I
One?
cannot watch that because there are two classes of filmmakers. Adam Wingard's the pleb, and then you have Takashi Yamazaki, who I haven't seen any of his other movies, but he's at least amongst the Japanese cinema background stuff, he's pretty good at what he does. He's a good director.
So he was able to get Godzilla in this long franchise his first Academy Award.
Not only that, he did more for Godzilla than Adam Wingard has done in two movies.
I wouldn't
He
say more. See, I would rephrase
The
that.
no,
sense
He
of
did
the
no,
more
he
spectrum.
has.
good. No, I was going to rephrase that. That the guy for Godzilla Minus One has done more good than Adam Wingard has done bad.
I was gonna say for Godzilla because I think Godzilla minus one really made Godzilla more popular. I would say. I think
Oh yeah,
this
I
is
mean being
this
good
is
helps.
well, yeah, that's it. But I think this is probably the most popular Godzilla's ever been, and they won an Academy Award
Well, not
in
only is
visual
Bob,
effects with that budget. Which
I honestly would argue that they should have been nominated for Best like Picture at least.
yeah, I mean I didn't see the other ones, but
Well, you saw Oppenheimer.
oh yeah, I did see
It was
Oppenheimer.
boring.
So it won was Oppenheimer.
I did see that. Because I think they picked another movie for Japan for best international film.
Yeah, but wasn't it?
It wasn't called Monster, was it?
I don't know what it was called. It's called Cuties. No, I'm kidding.
Especially with that recent fight on set. Ooh.
Don't really know what else to say. I'm devastated. I know. Let me take you back to my mindset after King of the Monsters. I was like, that was a good step in the right direction. Let's see what they can do. And then obviously when Godzilla vs. Kong came out, I'm like, oh my god, that was so bad. And then when Wingard was going to come back to do this one,
Oh,
just got
so
worse and
how did
worse.
Barbie get nominated for Best Picture? but Godzilla minus one didn't.
It was not enough.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling wasn't in that.
It's
Yeah,
not winning me.
I don't know. I know Adam Wingard's saying he has ideas. Yeah, I'm sure you do, pal. But I don't know realistically what they're gonna do.
We're
Apparently,
gonna fight another monkey.
Chat GPT has better ideas.
It unironically has way better ideas than the slop we got.
So I'm a Monsterverse accelerationist. I believe we should have Adam Wingard write,
No,
direct, produce, star in it. He
no.
should compose the music too.
Oh,
That's the thing too we haven't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah, we did not mention that at all. The music was, you know what it felt like? It felt like a film student would go on YouTube looking for copyright-free music. That's what it felt like.
Did they change Godzilla's theme again?
I think it was the same, but it's just,
No, it's that same.
I didn't really hear it.
it's the same, like, bland kind of music you would expect. And I know the composer is Tom Holkenberg, and I know him and Adam Wingard hate using the themes for these characters, but it's like, you have to. It's synonymous with the character. And
It's
Mothra,
like
oh yeah, Mothra's in the movie. We didn't even mention that, I think, right? Oh
No,
no,
we
we did.
did.
We did a little bit. There's no theme for Mothra when she came back. Like it was so great when they played Mothra's theme in King of the Monsters. And then in here, it's the most bland, uninspired piece of music you can have for this apparently great return of this character.
Well, the funny thing too is, like Godzilla King of the Monsters and the Mario movie, the top two praise or the top praises for each of those movies was their soundtracks, pulling from previously established music and themes. So I don't understand why more people don't do this. I mean, I guess they'll say, well, it doesn't really benefit us financially, but it makes a better movie. I mean,
No. Well, it's just like those things you don't have to ever detach from the character or
not
remove
that
it.
you
It's
don't have
just
to. You should never do that. I mean, it's
yeah.
Godzilla's theme for crying out loud.
Like you imagine if
The
you
same
just if
theme for
you
what, 70 years now?
Yeah,
you imagine if they did Indiana Jones without the theme,
it'd be horrible.
or Back to the Future without the theme.
See, what's so baffling is that there's been five American Godzilla movies, and only one uses his theme, and
It's
that
the
was King of the
best one.
Monsters. Yeah,
Coincidence? I don't think so.
yeah. I forgot to the music. I forgot to speak about it, Craig, because the music was so forgettable in the movie.
And also, well, then they kept throwing in those weird like '80s songs, and then the that like the old one in the opening.
If Adam Wingard comes back, get a different composer. This guy is terrible. He's so bad.
Yeah, because you know what he has that Bear McCreary doesn't?
What's that? A
It's
job?
cheaper.
Oh yeah, probably. He
Just
probably
yeah,
is.
I love the soundtrack for King of the Monsters.
It's not even that they have to use. I mean, you should use the themes of other monsters, but at least make new themes that are catchy. Like everyone remembers Ghidorah's theme and Rodan's, which were completely original for King of the Monsters. You just don't get hack people like Hulkenberg or Borg, whatever his name is. You get good composers.
But it's not, I think there's composers. I feel like if a character has a theme, I feel like it's almost a sin not to include just try to imagine the Mario movie without the World 1-1 theme. I feel like it'd be almost jarring. Maybe it's because we're different. We've
Would have
seen
been
so
like
many
the
Godzilla
'93
movies.
movie.
What?
Would have been like the '93 movie.
Well, I'm saying like we seen a lot of Godzilla movies growing up. So like to me, the theme is more than just this theme. Like it's almost a part of the movie experience. Like I remember I
Yeah,
loved hearing it in Godzilla minus one. So I just feel like not seeing it, not hearing the movie, you can't even say it's a real Godzilla movie.
yeah, and they didn't even and they didn't overuse it in this one. Like they use it at the perfect time when he's walking in Ginza.
Yeah,
And
then
then
they use it when
and
like
then,
the final battle.
yeah, when the boats start moving out, like it gets you pumped.
It's just
Boys, we're gonna take him down. Let's go.
Optimus Prime just gave a speech. I'm good to go.
But yeah, everything about this movie I hate with a burning passion. I'm probably never going to see this movie again. I'm not going to watch it again. I hate it so much.
But Colin, is it going in your DVD
Oh, I
collection?
have to. I have all of them on DVD. I have to get it. But Yeah, this is one of the worst, if not the worst Godzilla movie ever. I'd take 98 over this one in a
So
heartbeat.
while we're talking about the worst Godzilla movies, might as well just tell us. So what would you have that's below it? I'm just curious.
Oh, I think I made a tier list maybe not too long ago. But essentially, I think, let me check my computer. I think I have it somewhere. I think
I'm just
like
curious because you keep saying this. So now we got to know. The viewers have got to know. Dozens of us are dying to know Colin's tier list.
definitely
Dozens of us.
some of the worst are like Godzilla's Revenge, but that was like a kid's dream filled with stock footage because
Yeah.
it came after Destroy All Monsters, which had a big budget. So that one I could give a pass on. I think Godzilla vs. Gigan is actually really bad because again that one uses like 8 minutes of stock footage
I was
entirely.
gonna Godzilla versus Gigan and Godzilla versus Megalon.
Yeah, I have a special spot for Megalon though. But
I know you love the monster, but
oh,
yeah, I
all right,
think
here's my tier list. Okay, you ready? So it's loading. It's loading. All right, load faster. Okay, so
We're still at the bottom.
okay, yeah. In the F tier, I have Son of Godzilla. I hate. I don't really hate,
yeah,
but I don't like Godzilla. City on the Edge of Battle. I thought that was like a pointless movie.
the anime.
Yeah, and Godzilla the Planet Eater. I thought that was absolutely terrible. Godzilla stands in one spot for the whole movie, and Godzilla's Revenge are my F tier. And I think I'd put this movie in the F tier also. It's pretty bad. I hate this movie.
Yeah, Son of Godzilla.
Maybe I put
I
it
was
in
gonna,
D tier.
I was gonna say Son of Godzilla is really down there for me,
Yeah.
especially with Minya, whatever the hell that thing is.
I
I
put
just want to confirm Godzilla minus one's in your A tier or your top tier.
S tier. Yeah. Well, this is from 2022, my list. But yeah, it's in the S tier. I think like with some of the movies, I'm very lenient, but
I was gonna say, can I guess your top three, Colin? Not in any particular order.
okay.
Actually, you know what? Do I want to say top? I think I'll go top three because I think I definitely know three of your you're at your top. So Godzilla minus one, obviously.
Okay.
Um, then I would say Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
I
I know
do
you
love
love
that.
that.
I love that
I know
one.
you love that one. And Godzilla 2000.
I
I
do
would
love
say.
Godzilla 2000.
Well, did you say those are your top three?
Yeah, and I think four would probably be like King of the Monsters, and then maybe
Yeah.
GMK after. But
That is that.
I love Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla too.
Yeah.
Quintessential Godzilla movie, and he has the most screen time in that movie.
That's just a childhood classic and just an awesome movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but to all of our viewers, don't watch this. It is a terrible movie. What's your top three, and you think your worst Godzilla movie, Daniel? What do you think is the worst one?
I really don't like Son of Godzilla, but because Godzilla, see, I think it's a toss up between Son of Godzilla and Godzilla's Revenge.
Oh,
Because Son of Godzilla is bad because it introduces Minya. But Godzilla's Revenge, when Minya's talking with the child,
Godzilla says I should learn to fight my own battles. You know.
like, I put those two at the bottom. And then I would also, probably right in there too, would be like Godzilla versus Bira. That one's pretty. That one's
pretty rough.
bad. Yeah, that one's pretty rough. Um, I would say those three are probably my bottom three because at least like with Gigan and Megalon, at least the monsters were the redeeming quality. You at least introduced cool monsters, and same with like Hedorah, like the Smog Monster. Like I love the Smog Monster, so like that movie, it's a psychedelic fever dream, but at least the monster was imposing a threat to him. So
Yeah.
like at least that in the 70s, they at least introduced they had a good stretch of monsters. The movies I'm not gonna say are good, but at least the monsters were cool. Like I mean with Son of Godzilla, Godzilla's Revenge and Ibira, like a giant lobster, you got minion gets introduced, and you have a giant
The
spider
crayfish.
yeah, and yeah, crayfish, and then you have a praying mantis and a spider, and then Gabra is just a bully that can electrocute.
Yeah.
Who gets beat when he goes against Godzilla? Godzilla just trounces him. So I would say those three are probably my bottom tier,
Yeah,
like really bottom.
I'd put this one all the way at the bottom. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I wish there was a camera on me because my eyes would have been rolling so far back in my head.
See,
You've
I
seen
put
your
this.
brain.
See, I
Yeah.
put this one below them because while those ones were bad premises and like the monsters weren't good, I give them a pass for the campiness and like the schlock because again, context, they were limited by their time and stuff. So this movie doesn't get a pass in any way because they have the technology and all the right materials to do something good, but they are just so lazy, so incompetent, and there's no excuse for it. There really is just no excuse for it. So I put that one. This also might be the worst one. I put that
Yeah.
below them because there's no excuse for it.
Also, like those movies you mentioned in the 60s, Godzilla just, you could say, became a franchise. So, I guess there's more free reign to kind of do what you want when you're kind of starting out versus now where it's kind of established what Godzilla should mostly be
Especially
and
when
how
it's
to
in
make
a
a good
shared
movie.
universe with like other movies. Like we know how Godzilla's supposed to act and why and his dynamic, and this movie just completely ignores that. That'd be like in the Marvel movies, Tony Stark does something out of character entirely. He also just goes around and starts killing people. You'd be like,
Well,
what?
look at what they did with Thor.
Oh yeah, it'd be like Thor. Everybody hated that.
Yeah.
Well, can you blame him?
Like literally, you go from Infinity War to Endgame Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, then Love and Thunder, but
Well,
open up
Love
that
and
can of
Thunder was
worms.
like Love and Thunder is like Godzilla X Kong. It was already a downward spiral.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's more like Godzilla vs Kong because it was just shocking how bad it was
Speaking of the movie, Colin, where would that be on your list? Because you said you made it last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago. What, Godzilla vs Kong?
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh, that was in the D tier.
Really?
Yeah, I've always hated that movie when it came out.
I know you hate it, but I didn't think it'd be in your D tier because I'm assuming an E tier, right?
No, it goes to F.
Oh, no E. Okay.
The only reason I would put that one above the others is we get to see Godzilla stop Kong.
We were not Team Kong. That's the thing too. You talk about like memorabilia about this movie. I know we're running out of steam here, but at least remember the promotion for Godzilla vs. Kong was like, oh, who's going to win the fight?
Yeah.
This is just nothing. We've already seen them fight. I
Yeah.
mean, what more new could you really give us? You're not
Yeah.
introducing any, kaiju that people have attachment to. It's just, oh, it's generic monkey, generic dragon, ice dragon. Oh, there you go. That'd be $10, please.
Or the other Titans that we do introduce that get killed in the 15 seconds they're in the
Yeah, and off-screen fights.
Yeah. It was just a, excuse me, just a giant wasted opportunity.
What a year though for Godzilla.
Hate it.
We get arguably the best Godzilla movie
And then
and
the worst.
and the worst.
Way to go, Wingard.
Please stop making movies, Wingard. You're very bad at it.
No, Godzilla
Just,
Accelerationist.
just stop. Go away from Godzilla. Go do something else. Go ruin another franchise. Stay away from Godzilla.
Go back to writing your crappy horror
Yeah,
movies.
go back to
Can
making
he go
Ring,
into
you
Star Wars
loser.
and just annoy people? I'd like to see if
Yeah,
Star
make
Wars would
another
just die.
Death Note adaptation. You fool.
Make another Blair Witch.
Yeah. It's a shame Godzilla vs. Kong saved his career. Such a shame.
So with that
Anyway,
failed, he could have been a good Rasputin cosplayer.
I think we've said enough about this movie. I hate it. I think you guys hate it too, from what you've told me.
See, again, I'm not really at the point of hating it. I really I thought it was gonna
But
be
you had no,
bad.
yeah, you had no expectations.
I was like, yeah, it's bad. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything different.
Yeah, I despise this movie. It's a piece of trash. Don't see it. It pees on Godzilla, essentially. I hate it.
It's not
Worst
even,
Godzilla movie.
and also too, the action is not enough to compensate for everything else wrong with
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Go watch -1 instead.
go watch anything else but
Till
this.
a -1 minus color.
Well, with all that being said, though, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Dr. Craig, and thank you for attending Colin's therapy session.
And I'm Adam Wingard, the source of his therapy.
Oh my God. We will see you next time. I hate all of you. And you, Adam Wingard.